You are Locked On Giants POSTCAST. Part of Locked On Sports New York on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
It was thankfully, and I mean thankfully, the final international series game of the 2024 season. Of course, it featured the Giants and Panthers in Munich, Germany, and it went down to the final minutes. In fact, we needed overtime. The Panthers turned a key fumble into 3 points, and they win the game. Carolina wins it in the extra session 20-17, and Big Blue heads home with a 2-8 record, losers of 5 in a row. Hello, everyone. I'm Jay Berman. If you're a New Yorker, you might recognize my work. If not, welcome aboard. I've spent better part of 2 decades, everything from TV to web to radio. And of course, you can follow me on X at Jay Berman. That's JayBerman. Welcome to the Locked On Giants postcast, both on the Locked On Sports New York YouTube channel and the Locked On Giants podcast feed. The postcast gives you a place to hang out after every single Giants game. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Of course, we'll discuss everything Daniel Jones, who once again looked overmatched, to say the least. We'll certainly chat the run defense, which once again struggled. And with a week coming up, a week off, in fact, plenty of time to dissect everything from Munich. All that coming up on the postcast. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. All right, as we said, final score 20-17. The Panthers win. They have now sent the Giants to a 5th straight loss, and all anyone's going to want to talk about, of course, is the quarterback. Needless to say, Daniel Jones won't be the starting quarterback when the season begins in 2025. The question now moving forward is, will he be the starting quarterback of the New York Giants in 2 weeks when the Giants next play? Of course, they have the bye week after their trip to Germany. And then, of course, that's week 11. Week 12, they'll be home for Tampa Bay. So who will be the starting quarterback at that point in time? Plenty of time to discuss. The Giants are now 3-1 in regular season games played in Europe. If you recall, they won in London in 2007. In 2016 and 2022. And by the way, they went on to make the playoffs in each of those 3 seasons. Doubtful that happens this year. The Panthers have won back-to-back games for the first time since December of 2022. Folks, that's 2 years. Of course, they beat the Saints last Sunday in miraculous fashion, 23-22. And now they beat the Giants in similar lucky fashion, 20-17 after a Tyrone Tracy killer fumble. Giants win the toss in overtime, obviously elect to receive. They do so. First play from scrimmage, Tracy, and we'll get to him, who had a wonderful day, a career game, in fact, fumble. And not only did he fumble, it was forced by a former Giant. A'Shawn Robinson strips Tracy on the first play of the overtime. Several plays later, after a couple of runs, Eddie Pinheiro puts the ball through the uprights, and just like that, the Giants lose again. Final score, 20-17. As for Jones, well, he was 22 of 37 for 190 yards and 2 huge interceptions. Obviously had the rushing score, and most of those passing yards came in the fourth quarter when Carolina was playing off a little bit. But again, Jones, 22 of 37 for $190. Both interceptions coming in the red zone. And that is going to be the key part of the discussion moving forward, is how much Daniel Jones, to be honest, to be fair, let's call it like we see it, is killing the Giants. Wan'Dale Robinson had 5 catches for 51. Malik Neighbors, who got dinged up late, did return 6 catches for 50 yards. Even Jalen Hyatt got into it, 4 catches for 39. As we said, Daniel Jones for $190. But the question now is, and it really isn't a question, does Daniel Jones see the starting role at any point moving forward, barring an injury. Obviously, we've got Drew Lock as the 2, and who could forget Tommy DeVito as the 3. And the fact that we're even talking about who the 2 and 3 quarterbacks are on the roster tells you all you need to know about Daniel Jones and his performance, not only recently, but certainly today. Those 2 interceptions were killer, as we said, both coming in the red zone. The Giants were shut out in the first half for just the second time this season. And how about this? The Carolina defense, which has been horrendous, the defense has given up more points than any team in the league, allowing nearly 400 yards per game. Giants had $167 on the ground and $190 through the air. So in the 300s as far as yards per game. So below what Carolina had been giving up. Carolina D, 36 straight games since their last first half shutout. Just the second time this season the Panthers had the halftime lead. So a lot of firsts, a lot of seconds for Carolina against the Giants today, and for all the wrong reasons. Chuba Hubbard, pardon me, I knew I was going to screw that one up. 28 carries for 153 yards and a score. Looked like he hurt his knee late in the fourth quarter, but returned. And the reason we bring up Hubbard is because of that porous Giants run defense. The Panthers rushed the ball for 188 yards. The run defense was atrocious in the first quarter. It was atrocious late. It was atrocious from beginning to end. Chuba with 2 long runs, really had chunk plays all afternoon. The run D allowed 195 yards per game on the ground the last 3 weeks. More of the same, 188. So believe it or not, below their average somehow. As we said, the last 3 weeks, they've been allowing an average of 195 yards per game on the ground the last 3 weeks. Chuba, 83 yards in the very first quarter. The Giants' run defense is horrendous. And by the way, just 1 sack today. No sacks last week. They still lead the NFL in sacks. Just goes to show how many sacks they racked up prior to last week. But again, no sacks last week, just 1 sack today. So the defense really has been struggling, despite the fact that Carolina only put up 17 points in regulation, obviously the field goal. But again, Chuba Hubbard, 28 carries for 153 yards. Bryce Young, just 15 of 25 for a $126 and the touchdown. Again, just 15 completions. No Panther had more than 3 catches. Hubbard had 4 catches out of the backfield, but just 2 receivers had 3 catches each for Carolina. So it gives you an idea of just exactly what the Panthers were trying to accomplish today, and that was run the ball, especially against that porous run defense, in which we've talked about. Even Bryce Young had 30 yards carrying of his own, including a 24-yard scamper. Hubbard had 2 26-yard scampers. But again, the focus today obviously is on several things. Daniel Jones, will we ever see him in the starter's role again? Something tells me no, barring an injury. Something tells me in 2 weeks, because we've got plenty of time to discuss it now, 2 weeks, the bye next week in week 11, week 12, we return home for Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Will we see Drew Lock under center when that game begins? My thoughts are yes. Now, to be honest, I don't know which way to go. I don't think it's a no-brainer by any means. The season seems like it's a loss. They're 2-8. They've lost 5 in a row, and Daniel Jones has been struggling, turning the ball over in key situations in the red zone, which is obviously major no-nos. But again, gun to my head, the question has to be answered at this point in time. Will Daniel Jones be the starting quarterback in week 12 when the Giants face the Buccaneers at MetLife Stadium in front of the home folks? And to me, the answer is no. It's going to be Drew Lock. And obviously, as we said, we won't know for a while because the Giants don't play for another 2 weeks with the bye week next week off the travel coming to and from Germany. Bryce Young now 4-17 as an NFL starter, which means coming into today, he was 3 of 17, had 20 starts, won just 3 games. Now 21, he's won 4. And as we said, the Giants offense, much like the run defense, just not getting much going with the exception of Tyrone Tracy, who we said 18 carries, $103 on the ground, an average of nearly 6 yards per carry, and had the touchdown. But again, he had a complete look of dejection afterwards, and rightfully so. First play from scrimmage in overtime, he fumbles the ball. To make matters worse, he was stripped by the former Giant, A'Shawn Robinson. How about that? First play of overtime, deep in their own territory. Obviously, Carolina takes over, runs 3 plays into the offensive line, kicks the field goal, game, set, match. That's all she wrote. All right, when we come back, we'll take a look at the bye week moving forward and the decisions that Brian Daboll and company have to make. All right, our friends over at 5 Hour Energy know that being a passionate football fan isn't just a hobby, it's a way of life. It takes a lot of energy to power through all-day tailgates, touchdown celebrations, or an agonizing second overtime, which is why they've created the Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot with a special flavor called Fan Fuel, the energy shot made just for super fans like you. The fans who are first in the parking lot and who are last to leave. We see you. You know what else gave me a bit of Giants fan fuel this week? The fact that the Giants are looking at a quarterback for the upcoming draft. That much is certain. What isn't so certain is who it'll be and how much it'll take to get him to MetLife Stadium. But make no mistake, Big Blue will be quarterback shopping as soon as possible. 5 Hour Energy knows that no matter what team you root for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy. Whether you're prepping for the big tailgate or ironing your jersey, your game day to-do list is always a mile long. That's why the limited edition Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot is here to help keep you fueled throughout the season. What's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with a 5 Hour Energy. Available on 5hourenergy.com, shipped nationwide. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineup stays in play, even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. Sign up today. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, we are back after a 20-17 loss. The Carolina Panthers beat the New York Giants in Munich, Germany. Over 70,000 packed Allianz Arena. Tremendous crowd, and they were actually treated to a pretty exciting game. However, how we got there, a little less exciting. We talked about the 2 running backs that were key focuses for both their respective teams. Hubbard, 153 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Tracy, 103 and a touchdown on the ground. But the key fumble was that fumble from Tyrone Tracy. Believe it or not, lost 2 fumbles today. Recovered the first one, not so lucky with the second one. As we said, Carolina's defense has given up more points than any team in the league. They were allowing nearly 400 yards per game. That being said, they beat the Saints last week, 23-22. So that brought their average points against down a little bit. That was a pretty good number for them. And what do they do this week? They allow the Giants to put up just 17. So not terrible defense from Carolina the last 2 weeks for what it's worth. As for the Giants' run defense, well, we know it was atrocious. Chuba with the 2 long runs on the opening drive for Carolina. The run D for the Giants allowed 195 yards per game on the ground the last 3 weeks. Another 188 today. The run defense just miserable. The Panthers were rushing the ball at 7.7 yards per clip. Nearly 8 yards a carry. You don't ever need to throw the ball, and that's why Bryce Young was just 15 of 25 for $126. Didn't need to throw the ball. We did not bring up the flea flicker, which I promise we will. In fact, we'll do it right now. On third and short, it was third and one. It was actually less than a yard. Who knows what Brian Daboll was thinking on a third and short flea flicker. DJ takes the sack. However, on the flea flicker, it actually worked. Wandale was wide open. Malik Neighbors was wide open. Jones saw them and failed to get the ball in the air. And it's plays like this that everyone is going to reference when they decide that Daniel Jones is no longer the starting quarterback for the New York Football Giants. Again, on so many fronts, it was a bad play. Third and short, run the ball. You've been running it well. And two, DJ's got to throw the ball, especially to guys that are open 10 to 15 yards downfield. All right, as we said, the Giants lose 20-17. They've now lost, guess it, 5 in a row. The losing streak began after the Seattle game. Close one against Cincinnati, not close against Philadelphia, close one against Pittsburgh, close one against Washington, close one against Carolina. So the Giants are playing close games. They're just not winning them. And what's amazing, even more so, is the fact that they throttled Seattle in Seattle back in early October, about a month ago. That was a 29-20 win for the Giants at that point in time. That gave them a 2-3 mark. They're now 2-8. 5 straight losses, as we said, Cincinnati, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Washington, and Carolina, all losses. And as we said, week 11 is a bye. Then we return home for Tampa Bay, November 24th, in 2 weeks. In about 2 weeks from right now, the Giants will play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 2-8. Really an amazing story where the Giants finally put up 22 points against Washington in last week's game. But prior to that, they had not scored 20 points since the Seattle game. In fact, they've only scored 20 or more points. Let's see, not against Minnesota, not against Washington in the first game. They beat Cleveland 21-15 and Seattle 29-20. Couple that with the Washington 22 points in the second loss. Those are the only 3 times the Giants have scored 20 points this season in a league where it's all about points scored and offense and yards and catches and touchdowns, all of it. And the Giants can't seem to get any of it. All right, Brian Burns, the Brian Burns revenge game. He played well, sack on the first pass play from scrimmage for the Panthers. However, the Giants would only register that 1 sack. That was it. And as we said, over the last 2 weeks, just 1 sack for the Giants. That vaunted defense certainly not getting it done. All right, as we said, we'll take a look ahead. We'll really go deep into that calendar, which, of course, starts back up again in about 2 weeks. All right, nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. This year, skip the holiday hustle and bustle and save 50% off gourmet gifts site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, get a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with promo code NFL. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience. And the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages starting at $89.99. From legendary steaks to mouthwatering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code NFL and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code NFL. Minimum purchase may apply. Listen up, NFL fans. Now is your chance to start the season with a big return. Yep, you can do it with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So here's what you do. If you have a hunch in the middle of the game, go over to FanDuel, check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more. The best part is it's all on the same page where you place your bets. Everything is right there for you. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com, FanDuel.com. 2017, the final score, the Giants lose yet again in overtime to the Carolina Panthers. Many people figured that Carolina was going to be a game the Giants could mark as a win on the schedule. Fat chance. Let's take a look at these standings, and we all know where Carolina is. They're now 3-7, and don't forget, they're not in last place anymore because they beat the Saints last week, who are now 2-7. As for the Giants, staring at 2-8. Cowboys and Eagles will meet today. Commanders face the Pittsburgh Steelers. So it really feels like the bottom of the barrel here for the Giants moving forward. As we said, Tampa Bay is next up 2 weeks from right now. Giants at Bucks in the Meadowlands. Then it's the Thanksgiving Day 4:30 spot in Dallas. So a short week, November 24th, week 12, November 28th, week 13. Then they'll have some time off before they return for December 8th against New Orleans, then Baltimore, Atlanta, Indy, and Philadelphia to wind out the schedule. As we said, 2017, the final score, and a big reason why the Giants struggled today was Daniel Jones. Jones, 22 of 37, most of that damage through the air coming in the fourth quarter when Carolina seemed to be playing off a bit. 190 yards through the air for Jones. The question now is moving forward, is he the starting quarterback when the Giants play Tampa Bay at MetLife in 2 weeks' time? As we said, and it bears repeating, my suggestion is no, he's not. Drew Lock will get the start under center when the Giants face Tampa Bay. But again, plenty of time to discuss that. 2 weeks. All right. Thank you for making Locked On Sports New York your first listen today. Now for your second listen, go find the new Locked On NFL with 2 shows every single day. First, the madman Tyler Rowland kicks off your morning with a double shot of NFL espresso. Then stop by the barbershop with Tony Wiggins for some real NFL talk. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, before we get out of here, want to mention our partner in crime over at Locked On Giants, Patricia Traina. She's the best. Remember, follow, subscribe, enjoy all the stuff over at Locked On Giants. Giants lose again. They've now lost 5 in a row. They lost to Cincinnati, Philadelphia, both those games at home, Pittsburgh on the road, Washington back home, and now Carolina on the road. Yes, it was in Germany, but this was a Carolina home game, so that counts as a road game for the Giants, and it's a loss. As we said, they've scored just 20-plus points 3 times this season, 2 wins, and then the 22-point affair in the loss to Washington last week. 2017, the final score in overtime. Carolina's won back-to-back games for the first time in 2 years, and the Giants haven't won in over a month. All right, that's the Locked On Giants podcast. Giants versus the Panthers from Munich. Panthers win it 2017 in overtime.